As a brain health specialist with more than 40 years of experience, I have seen far too many individuals over the age of 60 encounter unexpected health crises, often caused by habits that seemed completely harmless at first glance. There is one particular habit I want to share with you today because it has deeply troubled me throughout my career, affecting so many good, active seniors who believed they were making healthy choices. This habit revolves around something incredibly simple and universally praised: walking. Now, I understand you might be asking yourself, how could something as beneficial and harmless as walking possibly raise my risk of a stroke? This might sound unusual, even contradictory to everything you've heard about maintaining your health. But here's the truth. Walking itself is not harmful. It's how, when, and under what conditions you choose to walk that can silently create a perfect storm inside your body, increasing your stroke risk overnight. Particularly concerning is the timing of these strokes, which occur quietly in your sleep, often without any warning signs whatsoever. Let me tell you about one of my patients, a man named George. George was a retired school principal from Denver, Colorado, 75 years old, and in wonderful shape for his age. He had clear eyes, a sharp mind, and strong legs. He prided himself on his disciplined routine, walking exactly 2 miles every afternoon, regardless of the weather. But there was one crucial mistake George made. A mistake so minor yet profoundly significant, he did not carry or consume water before or after his walks. For George, drinking water during his walks felt cumbersome, almost touristy. He believed his body could handle 30 minutes outdoors without hydration. Yet, what George didn't know, and what most older adults fail to realize, is that as we age, our sense of thirst diminishes significantly. By the time a person over 60 feels thirsty, their body is already dehydrated. George's story is a stark example of how dehydration can creep silently into our lives, creating invisible damage. Over the months, without realizing it, his daily walks were slowly thickening his blood due to the persistent, mild dehydration. The Colorado mountain air, while refreshing, was also incredibly dry. Each walk without water caused his blood to become just a little more sluggish, slightly thicker, raising his blood viscosity by as much as 10% or more over time. This might not seem like a lot, but to your delicate brain vessels, even a minor increase can have catastrophic results. One morning, George's wife found him collapsed in the hallway. He could not move his right arm or leg, his mouth hung open, and his speech was severely impaired. George had suffered a left-sided stroke, the kind neurologists like me call a middle cerebral artery stroke, one of the most devastating types. Upon examination, we found no evidence of the usual culprits like blocked arteries, high cholesterol, or heart arrhythmias. The cause was simply dehydration-induced blood clots. Small, sticky blood clots had quietly formed after months of walking without hydration, eventually traveling to his brain and blocking a vital artery overnight. George survived, thankfully, but his life was permanently altered. He now walks with a cane and no longer drives. When I visited him during rehabilitation, he said something that deeply resonated with me and compelled me to share his story. George said quietly, "Doctor, I honestly believed I was doing everything right. I didn't know that neglecting something as simple as drinking water during my walks could take away my independence." I share George's story not to frighten you, but to empower you. Prevention is simple and effective. If you're over 60, you should drink at least 6 to 8 ounces of water before every walk and again afterward. This advice applies regardless of the weather, whether it's cold or hot, because dehydration often strikes hardest in cooler weather, when our thirst mechanism is even weaker. My goal as your health guide is to ensure that you continue to enjoy your independence, your mobility, and your quality of life. Walking can and should remain a cornerstone of your health routine, but you must walk smartly, recognizing the hidden risks that become more significant with age. As we move through this series, I'll share additional subtle walking habits, each backed by real patient stories, to help you stay safe, healthy, and independent. You deserve a long, vibrant life, free from preventable strokes and other health complications. Before we continue to the next habit, I'd like to pause here and reflect. Are you taking adequate hydration seriously when you walk? Has George's story encouraged you to reconsider your own routine? If this has resonated with you, let me know your thoughts. Your insights help us build a healthier, wiser community. As we continue our discussion about walking habits that quietly endanger the health of older adults, I want to draw your attention to another seemingly innocent practice that has serious implications for your well-being. Many seniors love the warmth and brightness of sunlight during their walks. After all, sunshine lifts your spirits, enhances vitamin D production, and feels deeply comforting. But the harsh truth is that sunlight, particularly without proper protection, poses a silent but very real threat to your brain's health, increasing your stroke risk significantly over time. Now, I can already hear some of you thinking, "Doctor, I've been walking in the sun for decades. How could sunlight possibly harm my brain?" This reaction is entirely understandable because we often associate sunlight primarily with skin health and aging. Yet, as we age, sunlight becomes far more than a cosmetic issue. It can become a direct and insidious threat to the delicate vascular system feeding our brain. Let me explain clearly what happens inside your body when your skin and eyes are exposed to sunlight without proper protection, especially as you grow older. With age, your skin naturally loses protective layers and becomes thinner, while your blood vessels, particularly the smaller ones that feed your brain, become more fragile and prone to inflammation. Ultraviolet radiation from the sun, which we previously shrugged off, now triggers a powerful inflammatory response in the walls of your arteries. This chronic inflammation can gradually stiffen and narrow your blood vessels, making them more vulnerable to forming tiny blood clots that quietly build over months or even years. Consider the story of Elaine, a delightful 76-year-old woman from Tempe, Arizona. Elaine was the quintessential active senior who enjoyed daily walks around her neighborhood, often accompanied by her small terrier named Pepper. Elaine never wore sunglasses or hats because she thought they were uncomfortable and unnecessary. She trusted her body, believing the sun exposure was harmless, even beneficial. Yet, over several years, Elaine's blood pressure started fluctuating unpredictably, and she began experiencing fatigue, mild dizziness, and occasional blurry vision. Like many people her age, Elaine dismissed these symptoms, attributing them simply to growing older. But one early morning, Elaine's daughter found her mother collapsed on the kitchen floor, unable to speak or clearly recognize her own daughter. Elaine had experienced an ischemic stroke caused by a blood clot blocking the blood flow to her brain. Upon investigating Elaine's medical history, we found no obvious cardiovascular issues. However, we did discover chronic inflammation and oxidative stress markers in her blood. The daily exposure to sunlight without protection had silently inflamed her brain's delicate blood vessels, eventually leading to the stroke that robbed Elaine of her speech. The tragic part of Elaine's story is how preventable this scenario was. Sunlight-induced vascular inflammation can be significantly reduced with simple measures, such as wearing protective clothing, hats with wide brims, and sunglasses with proper ultraviolet protection. Even a modest effort to shield your eyes and skin can dramatically lower your stroke risk, preserving your independence and the health of your brain. My years in medicine have taught me that prevention often hinges upon understanding subtle factors that are easy to overlook. As your guide, my intention is never to frighten you, but to empower you with knowledge, enabling you to take action before damage occurs. Walking outdoors remains vital and beneficial, but it must be done with awareness and care. Now, before your next walk, I urge you to remember Elaine's story. Consider taking these simple precautions. Protect your eyes with wraparound sunglasses designed to block ultraviolet rays, wear hats that shade your face and neck, and choose lightweight clothing that covers your arms and legs. Additionally, Try to avoid walking during peak ultraviolet hours, usually between 10 in the morning and 4 in the afternoon. Elaine's story had a lasting impact on me. When I saw her during rehabilitation, struggling to regain her speech, she said with tremendous effort, "Doctor, I never knew the sun could harm my brain. I always thought it was just my skin that needed protection." Hearing this made me realize just how many seniors unknowingly expose themselves to similar risks daily. Elaine's experience is a powerful reminder to all of us that our bodies change significantly with age. What was once harmless, or even healthy, can become detrimental over time without the proper precautions. My sincere hope is that Elaine's story will encourage you to adopt protective measures immediately. It may take a moment of adjustment, perhaps choosing sunglasses that feel comfortable or finding a hat that suits your style. But these small adjustments can literally be life-saving. As we move forward to our next discussion, we will explore yet another common walking habit with hidden risks, helping you maintain the vibrancy, independence, and wellness you deserve. Before we do, however, I'd like you to reflect for just a moment. Have you adequately protected yourself during your walks in the sun? Could Elaine's story lead you to reconsider your habits? Your experiences and reflections are invaluable, and I deeply appreciate hearing them. Continuing our exploration of hidden walking risks for older adults, let's discuss another common yet overlooked habit: walking alone. Many seniors cherish solitude during their daily walks. Perhaps you prefer the quiet moments for contemplation, or simply to savor nature without distraction. This sense of independence is understandable and admirable, especially as we age. However, walking alone carries a subtle yet substantial risk, one that often goes unnoticed until something serious happens. The issue isn't that solitude itself is dangerous. Rather, the risk arises from the absence of another person who can recognize early warning signs of a stroke or other medical emergencies. As a specialist, I've witnessed countless cases where subtle, easily dismissible symptoms went unnoticed simply because the individual was alone. These small signals, such as momentary confusion, slight slurring of speech, or temporary weakness, can quickly escalate if not promptly recognized. Let me share the story of Leonard, a 75-year-old widower from Minnesota. Leonard was fiercely independent, walking 2 miles alone every morning without carrying a phone or notifying anyone about his route. One cold January morning, Leonard experienced a brief moment of confusion and weakness. He stopped briefly on a park bench, believing he was just tired. With no one around to observe his subtle symptoms, he continued his walk, assuming everything was normal. Unfortunately, that episode was Leonard's body whispering an early warning sign of a stroke, known as a transient ischemic attack. Without immediate intervention, the small clot responsible for this warning soon led to a full stroke the following morning. Leonard woke up confused, unable to speak clearly, and struggling with balance. His daughter found him hours later, and although Leonard survived, the delay in recognizing the early signs caused permanent impairment in his speech and mobility. Leonard's experience is not unique. Many seniors walk alone, thinking little of brief moments of dizziness or temporary confusion. Yet, these fleeting symptoms are your body's urgent signals that something might be seriously wrong. If detected promptly, strokes can often be treated successfully, preventing lifelong disabilities. But without a second pair of eyes or ears nearby, precious intervention time can slip away. You don't have to abandon your independent walks entirely. Instead, consider adopting simple strategies to keep yourself safe. Carrying a mobile phone or wearing a medical alert device can be life-saving. Inform a neighbor or friend about your usual route and expected return time. Even better, occasionally walk with a companion or join a local walking group. Having someone nearby, even just once or twice a week, significantly improves your chances of early detection if symptoms arise. When I visited Leonard during his rehabilitation, he shared something deeply insightful. "Doctor, solitude felt peaceful, but I learned silence can be deadly." His words reminded me of the critical importance of companionship and community support in maintaining our health, especially as we age. My advice to you, as your trusted health guide, is not to view independence as isolation. Instead, cultivate mindful habits that balance your desire for solitude with practical safeguards. Let Leonard's story serve as a gentle reminder to prioritize both independence and safety. Your health and independence are precious. Preserve them wisely. Before we explore our next topic, take a moment to reflect. Could Leonard's experience influence you to reconsider your habits? Would you consider adopting safer walking practices like carrying a phone or walking occasionally with a friend? Your reflections and experiences truly matter, and I'd appreciate hearing them. In our ongoing conversation about walking habits that silently endanger senior health, I want to highlight another habit many older adults unknowingly practice: walking shortly after eating a heavy evening meal. You might believe an evening stroll after dinner is beneficial for digestion or blood sugar management, and indeed, for younger people, it often is. But for older adults, this well-intentioned routine can quietly increase stroke risk during sleep. Let me clarify why this happens. When you consume a substantial meal, particularly one high in fats and carbohydrates, your body naturally redirects blood flow away from other organs, including your brain, and towards your digestive system. This normal bodily response, known as postprandial hyperemia, is generally harmless in younger adults. However, older bodies respond differently, especially if hypertension, diabetes, or arterial stiffness already exist. Now imagine you add walking to this scenario. Your muscles require extra blood and oxygen during physical activity, but after a heavy meal, your body is already straining to support digestion. This creates a subtle yet significant competition for blood circulation, often leaving the brain with reduced blood flow. This shortage can cause mild dizziness, disorientation, or even encourage the formation of microscopic blood clots. These small clots often remain unnoticed until nighttime, when blood pressure naturally rises during sleep, potentially blocking critical brain arteries and triggering a stroke. Let me share Harriet's story, a 74-year-old retired teacher from Albany, New York. Harriet was meticulous about her evening routine: a hearty dinner followed by a brisk walk around her neighborhood. One morning, Harriet's neighbor noticed her newspaper untouched and discovered Harriet unable to speak clearly, having suffered a stroke during sleep. Medical investigations revealed no major blockages or heart conditions, but Harriet's evening habit of walking after heavy meals had likely contributed to the stroke. To reduce such risks, I advise older adults to wait at least 90 minutes after eating before engaging in prolonged or strenuous walks. Opt instead for gentle indoor movements or stretching to aid digestion. Your intention to walk for health is commendable, but timing and moderation matter greatly. Harriet's experience underscores that as we age, our bodies require thoughtful adjustments. She shared with me a valuable insight during rehabilitation. I believed walking after dinner was healthy, not realizing timing made all the difference. Now, take a moment and reflect. Have you been walking soon after dinner? Would Harriet's experience inspire you to reconsider your routine? I deeply value your reflections. As we progress through our series on hidden walking habits that can impact senior health, let us examine a perhaps surprising risk factor: poor walking posture. Many older adults focus on distance and pace, believing that walking itself guarantees health benefits. Yet, the way you carry your body as you walk can greatly influence blood flow to your brain and your overall balance. A slight forward head tilt or rounded shoulders may feel natural, especially with age, but such positions can gradually compress the arteries in your neck, reducing the oxygen supply to your brain. To understand this, picture the carotid arteries that run along each side of your neck. They act like highways carrying oxygen-rich blood from your heart straight to your brain. When you hunch forward or dip your chin toward your chest, you narrow the space in your cervical spine and squeeze these vital vessels. Over time, repeated compression not only decreases cerebral blood flow, but may also encourage the formation of small clots inside narrowed areas. In older bodies with already stiffened or partially narrowed arteries, even mild compression can have significant effects. Consider the case of Albert, a 78-year-old retired accountant from Illinois. Albert took pride in his daily walks around the neighborhood. Yet, after a fall 2 years ago, he adopted a habit of leaning his head down to watch the ground for obstacles. Without realizing it, Albert developed a pronounced forward head posture. One morning, he felt lightheaded and experienced brief numbness in his left hand. Fortunately, the episode passed within minutes, but signaled a transient ischemic attack, a small stroke that resolves quickly. Following this warning, Albert underwent ultrasound imaging while holding his usual walking posture, and the results were remarkable. His carotid blood flow dropped substantially when his head was flexed forward. The posture that felt protective had in fact been silently starving his brain of vital oxygen. Since then, Albert and I worked together on posture correction exercises, core strengthening, and gentle use of walking poles to encourage a more upright stance. He learned to imagine a string lifting the crown of his head to keep his neck aligned. He practiced chin tucks and shoulder opening stretches daily. Over the months, his balance improved, and he no longer experiences the morning dizziness that once frightened him. My advice to you as you walk is simple. Keep your gaze 10 to 15 feet ahead rather than down at your shoes. Draw your shoulders back and imagine your chest opening like a door, welcoming fresh air. Let your posture become a habit supported by gentle exercises and mindful walking practice. Before our next section, let me ask you to reflect. Do you catch yourself looking down while you walk? Are your shoulders rounded forward? Could a small adjustment in posture help preserve your brain health? Let me know your thoughts. Another often overlooked factor that can quietly undermine your health is the choice of footwear. Shoes are not just fashion or comfort. They influence your circulation, balance, and even your risk of forming blood clots. As we age, the natural fat padding on our soles thins and the arches can collapse. Shoes that once felt fine may become too tight or unsupportive without you noticing. Such changes can compress veins in your lower legs, slow blood return to your heart, and increase the risk of deep vein thrombosis, a serious condition where clots form in leg veins and can travel to the brain, causing a stroke. Let me share the experience of Jeannie, a 72-year-old retired librarian from Maine. Jeannie valued convenience and style and always wore light slip-on canvas shoes for her morning walks. They were easy to pop on and felt familiar. Over time, she began to notice tingling in her toes and occasional heaviness in her legs after walking. She dismissed these symptoms until one day she felt her foot give out and she fell backward. At the hospital scan, doctors discovered she had suffered a small stroke in her cerebellum, a region that controls balance. Further investigation revealed a deep vein clot in her calf, likely caused by restricted blood flow from months of wearing unsupportive shoes. This clot had sent tiny fragments to her brain, causing the stroke. Jeannie did not have high cholesterol or heart disease, and no history of clotting disorders. The culprit was simply the wrong footwear. The shoes compressed her calf muscles and veins, reduced pumping action, and slowly set the stage for clot formation. To protect yourself, choose footwear with good arch support cushioning and room for your toes to wiggle. Avoid completely flat shoes or those that press tightly across the midfoot. Consider having your gait and foot shape assessed by a podiatrist or physical therapist every year or two. Replace shoes when the soles show uneven wear or when they feel less stable on flat ground. A supportive shoe helps maintain natural pumping of blood through your legs, reducing clot risk and improving balance. Proper footwear also impacts your posture and gait, which in turn affects your neck, arteries, and blood flow to the brain. Shoes that are too stiff or too hard can alter your stride, forcing postural compensations that may compress carotid arteries in the neck or create tension in your back and shoulders. The right shoe promotes an even gait posture and circulation from your feet all the way to your head. Before we move on, take a moment to reflect on your current footwear. Do your shoes provide support and cushioning? Do they allow natural movement of your feet? If not, consider updating your shoes and consulting a professional to reduce your risk of clot formation and improve your overall walking safety. Walking surfaces vary greatly and can introduce hidden dangers for older adults. Uneven or inclined paths may seem like beneficial challenges, helping to strengthen muscles and improve balance. Yet these same surfaces can cause abrupt shifts in blood pressure, rapid fatigue, and increased fall risk, all of which may contribute to stroke or other serious health events. Imagine strolling along a forest trail with gentle hills, gravel underfoot, and occasional tree roots. For an 81-year-old former city inspector named Raymond, this weekly ritual felt invigorating. He believed the varied terrain made him stronger. One morning after a rainy night, he slipped slightly on a muddy decline but managed to steady himself. Hours later, Raymond experienced confusion and difficulty speaking, symptoms indicating a stroke in his right brain hemisphere. When medical teams reviewed his history, they found evidence of microclots in his cerebral vessels. The sudden spike in blood pressure and vascular stress caused by that slippery incline had likely dislodged tiny plaques or encouraged clot formation. Our bodies use complex feedback systems called baroreceptors to regulate blood pressure during changes in posture and exertion. As we age, these sensors become less responsive, causing blood pressure to react more sharply to terrain changes. When walking uphill, your heart works harder, and your arteries stretch to accommodate increased demand. Downhill or uneven surfaces force quicker muscular corrections and can momentarily divert blood flow to stabilize muscles, reducing cerebral perfusion. To protect your brain health, choose mostly flat, even paths for daily walks. Community tracks, indoor mall corridors, or well-maintained sidewalks offer predictable surfaces that reduce sudden cardiovascular stress. If you do enjoy varied terrain, do so with restraint and preparation. Carry water. Pause frequently to let your heart and brain stabilize, and wear shoes with strong grip and ankle support. Raymond's experience taught me that strength does not come at the cost of safety. After his stroke, he switched to flat walking tracks and began walking with a friend who could support him if he slipped. He also learned to recognize early signals like unusual fatigue or sudden heart pounding as reasons to pause or change course. Before we move on, take a moment to reflect. Have you thought about how the surfaces you walk on affect your health? Would choosing flatter paths help you walk more safely? Let me know your thoughts. Distraction during a walk may feel harmless, but for older adults, it can quietly raise the risk of serious health events. When you divide your attention between movement and other tasks, walking while listening to podcasts, checking your phone, or mentally planning your next grocery trip, you reduce the brain's capacity to monitor balance, posture, and early warning signs of medical emergencies. For seniors whose sensory and cognitive processing are already adapting to age-related changes, this split focus can have dangerous consequences. Consider the case of Donna, a 77-year-old retired high school teacher. Donna loved her morning walks and found them more enjoyable with her favorite true crime episodes playing through her earbuds. One spring morning, she felt a sudden weakness in her right leg and noticed her speech slurring slightly. But because she was focused on the podcast, she dismissed these alarms and kept walking. A neighbor noticed her struggle and alerted help. Donna had suffered a stroke by the time paramedics arrived, leaving her with lasting difficulties in coordination and speech. During walking, the brain integrates signals from the inner ear, eyes, muscles, and joints to maintain stability and detect problems. When attention is diverted, cognitive resources shift toward processing external information rather than monitoring body signals. This reduction in awareness means you may not notice early signs of dizziness, numbness, or vision changes that precede strokes. Every second of delay in recognizing these symptoms can mean more brain cells lost and a greater chance of long-term disability. To protect yourself, remain present and mindful during walks. Leave earbuds at home or use a single earbud if you must stay reachable. Avoid scrolling or texting while you move. If you need to plan your day or catch up on news, pause your walk to check your phone safely. Practice walking as a dedicated time for movement and body awareness. As part of mindful walking, begin each session with a brief check-in. Notice your posture, feel your feet connecting with the ground, and take slow, deep breaths to center your attention. If thoughts start drifting toward tasks or media, tune back into your body. Let walking become a meditation on movement, not a time to multitask. Before our next topic, I encourage you to reflect. Do you find your mind wandering or your gaze shifting away when you walk? How might increased presence protect your health? Let me know your thoughts. One of the quietest dangers for older adults comes not during the walk itself, but in the hours that follow. Evening walks can feel peaceful, a way to unwind after dinner and enjoy cooler air. Yet walking too late in the evening can disrupt your body's natural rhythms and silently set the stage for a stroke while you sleep. This risk hinges on how exercise affects your nervous system and blood pressure regulation. Our bodies follow circadian patterns that regulate heart rate, blood pressure, and hormone release throughout the day and night. In healthy younger adults, these systems buffer changes caused by activity. However, as we age, the autonomic nervous system becomes less responsive, making it harder to return to a resting state after exercise. When you end a brisk walk close to bedtime, your sympathetic nervous system remains activated longer, keeping your heart rate elevated and blood vessels constricted. This state of alert continues into the early sleep cycles. Between 2 and 4 in the morning, blood pressure naturally increases as part of normal sleep architecture. In younger people, the parasympathetic system balances this rise. But for older adults with stiffer arteries or marginal blood pressure control, an evening walk can amplify that early morning surge, potentially triggering a stroke in the middle of the night. You may not feel any warning signs until it is too late. Consider the story of Dennis, a retired veteran aged 80 from South Carolina. Dennis walked every evening after dinner to help digestion and enjoy starlight. He believed this routine improved his sleep. One night he returned from an 8 o'clock walk and went to bed feeling relaxed. In the early hours, his wife found him unresponsive with slurred speech and weakness on one side. Paramedics confirmed he had suffered a massive ischemic stroke during sleep. Dennis's medical history was unremarkable. Blood pressure was generally well controlled, and cholesterol was within target. Yet autonomic testing revealed his sympathetic tone remained higher throughout the night after evening exercise. His late walk had prevented proper vascular recovery before the natural nocturnal blood pressure rise, creating a perfect storm for clot formation and vessel rupture. To protect against this risk, shift your walks to earlier in the day. Aim to finish any moderate or brisk walk at least 3 hours before bedtime, ideally in the late afternoon. This allows your autonomic system time to return to a more balanced state. If you crave fresh air in the evening, opt for gentle indoor or backyard movement, such as light stretching or walking at an easy pace indoors. Dennis's story taught me that timing matters as much as activity. Even a healthy routine can have unintended consequences if it conflicts with our body's natural cycles. As your guide, I encourage you to pay attention to when you walk, as well as how you walk. Before we move on, take a moment to reflect. Do you often walk late in the evening? Could shifting your routine to earlier hours help you sleep better and reduce your risk? Let me know your thoughts. Another walking habit that seniors often overlook is failing to include proper warm-up and cool-down routines before and after their walks. A simple walk may feel like gentle exercise, but sudden changes in activity level can shock your cardiovascular system and impact your blood pressure and vascular tone. Skipping warm-up and cool-down may seem harmless, yet over time it can contribute to increased risk of stroke or other cardiac events. When you start walking abruptly from a seated or resting position, your heart rate and blood vessels are not prepared for the sudden increase in demand. This rapid shift can cause transient spikes in blood pressure and heart rate as your body scrambles to deliver oxygen to working muscles. In younger individuals, these changes are quickly buffered by flexible blood vessels and responsive autonomic reflexes. However, as we age, blood vessel elasticity decreases and nervous system responses slow down. The result is that sudden exertion can create larger and more sustained pressure spikes in your arteries, raising the chance of dislodging small plaques or causing micro tears in vulnerable vessel walls. Similarly, ending a walk abruptly and sitting or lying down without a proper cool down can lead to blood pooling in your legs. During activity, the muscle pump in your calves and thighs helps return blood to the heart. Stopping suddenly causes this pump to shut off and blood to accumulate in the lower extremities. The pooled blood increases the risk of clot formation in the deep veins, which may travel to the brain and trigger a stroke. You might feel lightheaded or dizzy when you stop abruptly, a sign that your body is struggling to regulate blood flow. To prevent these risks, incorporate gentle warm-up and cool-down routines into every walk. Begin with 5 minutes of slow marching in place or easy leg swings to gradually raise your heart rate and prepare your vessels. After your main walk, spend another 5 minutes walking slowly at a relaxed pace, followed by simple calf and thigh stretches. These transitions help your cardiovascular system adapt gradually, reducing spikes and promoting steady blood flow. Let me share the experience of Margaret, an 84-year-old woman from Iowa who loved her morning walks. She would step outside, lace her shoes, and immediately head into a brisk half-hour loop. After one particularly short spring evening walk, she sat down quickly and felt dizzy, then collapsed. In the hospital, doctors found a deep vein clot in her leg and minor tearing in a small artery. This clot had likely formed from blood pooling after abrupt stopping, and the arterial tear may have been caused by a sudden spike in pressure at the start of exercise without warm-up. Margaret recovered, but she now follows a structured routine. Before she embarks on her walks, she performs light marching and ankle rotations. When she returns, she walks slowly for several minutes and stretches her calves and thighs. She told me, "Doctor, these simple steps make me feel more stable and confident. I never realized warm-up and cool-down were so important. As your guide, I encourage you to treat your walks like any other exercise session. Respect the transitions and give your body time to adjust. This small change can safeguard your vascular health and help preserve your independence." Before we proceed to part 11, reflect on your current routine. Do you warm up and cool down around your walks? Could these simple steps reduce your risk and enhance your comfort? Let me know your thoughts. In addition to attention, timing, and posture, another critical factor that can influence senior safety is weather awareness. Many older adults bravely venture out for daily walks in all seasons, believing they can handle whatever nature brings. Yet, extreme temperatures and sudden changes in weather can quietly undermine your health, increasing your risk of heat exhaustion, dehydration, or cold-related vascular stress that may contribute to stroke or cardiac events. Let us consider the case of Dorothy, a 79-year-old retired nurse living in Phoenix, Arizona. In the height of summer, Dorothy maintained her routine, walking each morning before dawn, convinced that early hours meant safety from the desert heat. One particularly hot day, temperatures rose rapidly even before sunrise. Dorothy only felt a bit more tired than usual and did not realize her core body temperature was climbing. She returned home, showered, and went to bed early, unaware she was dangerously overheated. Overnight, the strain on her heart and blood vessels led to a stroke. When paramedics arrived, Dorothy was confused and weak on one side. In the days that followed, She learned that even moderate heat stress can thicken the blood and strain the cardiovascular system, especially in older adults whose thermoregulation and hydration status are compromised. On the opposite end of the spectrum, cold weather can also pose hidden risks. Cold temperatures constrict blood vessels, raising blood pressure and increasing the chance of dislodging vulnerable plaques. Consider Walter, an 83-year-old retired postal worker in Minnesota. On a crisp winter morning, he bundled up and set out for his usual walk. Despite wearing warm clothes, his exposed face and hands felt a chill that he welcomed as invigoration. Later that day, he experienced sudden chest pain and numbness in his right arm. In the hospital, doctors discovered a transient ischemic attack likely triggered by the surge in blood pressure caused by cold-induced vasoconstriction. To protect yourself, develop weather-aware walking habits. In hot environments, schedule walks during the coolest parts of the day, ideally in the early morning, and consider shortening your route on extremely hot days. Always carry water and wear breathable, moisture-wicking fabrics. In cold weather, dress in layers that you can remove if needed, and protect exposed skin with hats, scarves, and gloves. Check your local weather forecast before heading out and heed heat advisories or wind chill warnings. If the weather feels extreme, consider indoor alternatives like mall walking or home treadmill sessions to maintain consistency without undue risk. Remember that your perception of comfort is not always a reliable indicator of safety. Subtle heat stress or cold strain can occur without noticeable discomfort until a serious event happens. Dorothy and Walter's experiences highlight that weather can be a silent partner in health risks. By respecting environmental conditions and adapting your routine, you reduce the strain on your cardiovascular system and protect your independence. Before we continue to part 12, reflect on your last walk's conditions. Did you check the weather? Could you adjust your timing or clothing to improve safety? Let me know your thoughts. Regular rest and recovery are as vital to senior health as the walk itself. Many older adults maintain daily walking routines without considering the importance of recovery days and muscle rest. While consistency is commendable, failing to allow your body time to repair and regenerate can lead to chronic inflammation, fatigue, and increased risk of injury or vascular stress that may contribute to stroke or cardiac events. When you walk every day at the same intensity, your muscles, joints, and cardiovascular system receive continuous strain. In younger bodies, adaptation and recovery processes tend to be faster and more efficient. However, as we age, these systems slow down. Repeated microtrauma in muscles and connective tissues can provoke low-grade inflammation throughout the body. Vascular inflammation can impair blood vessel elasticity and promote clot formation. In addition, chronic fatigue diminishes coordination and balance, increasing the likelihood of falls or sudden exertional events. Let me share the experience of Gloria, a 76-year-old former school counselor from Florida. Gloria prided herself on walking daily, often covering 3 miles each morning. She believed walking every day was the key to staying fit and independent. Unfortunately, after several weeks without rest days, she began to notice persistent soreness in her calves and hips. She dismissed this as normal aging, continuing her routine without pause. One afternoon, Gloria experienced sharp chest discomfort and lightheadedness near the end of her walk. Emergency evaluation revealed elevated inflammatory markers and minor swelling in her calf veins, suggestive of early deep vein thrombosis. The combination of vascular inflammation and reduced muscle pump efficiency from constant walking had increased her clot risk. Recovery is not about quitting or becoming sedentary. It is about listening to your body and giving it opportunities to heal. Incorporate at least 1 or 2 rest or light activity days each week. On these days, focus on gentle stretching, yoga, or leisurely strolls of 10 to 15 minutes. These low-intensity movements promote circulation and joint mobility without imposing high cardiovascular loads. Foam rolling or gentle self-massage can also help reduce muscle tightness and support venous return. In addition to active recovery, ensure that you support your body nutritionally. Adequate protein intake helps repair muscle fibers, while omega-3 fatty acids have anti-inflammatory properties that support vascular health. Discuss with your healthcare provider whether supplements like magnesium or vitamin D could further assist muscle and nerve function, particularly if you have known deficiencies. Gloria's perspective shifted after recovery planning. She shared with me during follow-up visits, "Doctor, I thought push daily was the answer. Now I realize that strategic rest makes me stronger." Her calf soreness resolved and her energy levels improved. She remained consistent with walking but now includes recovery days and gentle movement. As your guide, I encourage you to view rest as an integral part of your routine rather than a disruption. Balance activity with recovery, ensuring your body has time to heal. This approach protects your muscles, vessels, and nervous system, reducing hidden risks associated with constant strain. Before we move on to part 13, take a moment to reflect. Do you schedule rest days or light activity days in your walking routine? Could incorporating strategic recovery improve your energy and safety? Let me know your thoughts. An often underestimated aspect of walking is the role of nutrition timing and composition in influencing your body's response to exercise. Many seniors think that as long as they eat something before or after a walk, they are covered. However, the type of foods you consume and when you eat them can significantly affect your blood sugar, blood pressure, and even your risk of clot formation. Picture this scenario. You wake up feeling a bit lightheaded because your blood sugar is low after fasting overnight. You decide to head out for your morning walk immediately, thinking movement will wake you up. Yet, without adequate nutrition, your body may struggle to maintain stable glucose levels during exercise. This can cause dizziness or weakness mid-walk, increasing your chance of a fall or an episode of hypotension. Alternatively, eating a heavy or high-sugar meal shortly before walking can spike your blood sugar and then cause a rapid drop, leaving you fatigued or dizzy. Let me share the story of Helen, a 73-year-old retired artist from Oregon. Helen loved her morning walks, but had inconsistent eating habits. Some mornings, she skipped breakfast entirely, while other days, she indulged in a large pastry and coffee. One chilly morning, after a skipped breakfast, Helen felt unsteady 5 minutes into her walk. She thought it was just mild stiffness, but ignored the warning signs. Later that day, she experienced a transient ischemic attack, with brief, slurred speech and weakness in one arm. Medical evaluation revealed that her blood sugar fluctuations had likely contributed to reduced cerebral perfusion and made her vessels more susceptible to forming small clots. On another occasion, Helen tried a different approach, eating a heavy bagel with sugary spread immediately before walking. Her blood sugar shot up, then plummeted during her walk, causing fatigue and dizziness. She nearly fell and had to call for help. These experiences taught Helen the importance of balanced nutrition timing. To optimize your walking routine, consider a light, balanced snack 45 to 60 minutes before your walk. Choose options with complex carbohydrates, such as whole grain toast or oatmeal, and include a small amount of protein like nuts or yogurt. This combination provides steady energy release and supports stable blood sugar. After your walk, replenish with a snack that contains protein and healthy fats to support recovery and prevent late drops in glucose levels. In addition to timing, pay attention to hydration, as we discussed earlier. Water is critical, but you may also benefit from electrolyte balance if your walks are long or in warm conditions. A small handful of nuts or a banana can provide potassium, and dairy or plant-based dairy alternatives can offer calcium and magnesium to support muscle and nerve function. Reflecting on Helen's experiences, she now prepares a consistent pre-walk snack and reports feeling more energetic, stable, and confident. Her minor episodes of lightheadedness have disappeared, and she no longer worries about sudden blood sugar crashes. As your guide, I encourage you to view nutrition and hydration as essential partners to your walking practice. By timing and choosing the right foods, you support steady energy, stable blood pressure, and healthy vascular function. Before we move on to part 14, take a moment to reflect. What do you typically eat before and after your walks? Could adjusting your nutrition, timing, and composition improve your safety and enjoyment? Let me know your thoughts. Walking offers more than physical benefits. It can also provide mental stimulation and social engagement, which are crucial for brain health in older adults. Engaging your mind during movement helps maintain cognitive function, while sharing walks with others promotes emotional well-being and safety. Without these elements, routine walks may become monotonous, reducing motivation and potentially missing early warning signs of health issues. Consider Eleanor, a 77-year-old retired librarian who walked the same quiet streets every day alone. Over time, her walks became mechanical. She stopped noticing small changes in her balance or subtle shifts in her breathing. One afternoon, Eleanor suddenly felt a brief moment of confusion and mild slurring of her words, but dismissed it as fatigue. Her solitary routine meant no one was there to notice or call for help. Later that day, she was diagnosed with a minor stroke that, while not disabling, affected her short-term memory. Contrast Eleanor's experience with Martin, a 75-year-old retired engineer who joined a local walking club. Each week, he walked with a small group of peers who met at the community center. They discussed current events, exchanged walking tips, and supported each other's progress. During one session, Martin mentioned feeling unusually tired mid-walk. His friend noticed and suggested he cut the walk short and rest. They also reminded him to hydrate and check his blood pressure later. That afternoon, Martin discovered higher than normal readings and consulted his doctor. Early detection prevented a potential stroke. Mental engagement during walks can take many forms. Listening to audiobooks rather than music, practicing mindful observation of your surroundings, or setting simple mental challenges like recalling favorite poems or naming items in nature, all stimulate cognitive pathways. Social engagement can be as simple as inviting a neighbor, joining a walking group, or walking with a family member. These interactions not only enhance safety but also boost mood, reduce loneliness, and encourage adherence to healthy routines. To incorporate these elements, seek local walking clubs at senior centers, community halls, or online forums. Ask a friend or family member to walk with you a few times a week. Plan your route to include scenic parks or landmarks that invite discussion and discovery. Set small cognitive goals, such as spotting birds, naming tree types, or recalling historical facts about your neighborhood. Eleanor eventually started walking with her daughter twice a week. She found that talking and laughing made the walks feel shorter, and having someone observe her gait and energy provided peace of mind. Martin's group continues to thrive, and even organized a seasonal nature walk that attracted local seniors. Both stories illustrate the power of mental and social engagement to safeguard health. As your guide, I encourage you to enrich your walking routine with social and mental elements. Whether through conversation, observation, or shared goals, these practices nurture your brain, strengthen bonds, and add layers of safety to every step. Before we move on to part 15, reflect on your own routine. Do you walk with others or engage your mind during walks? How might adding these elements make your walks safer and more enjoyable? Let me know your thoughts. As we approach the final segments of our series on walking habits that influence senior health, I want to explore the importance of tracking and monitoring your progress. Keeping simple records of your walks and related health metrics can reveal patterns that might otherwise go unnoticed, enabling early intervention and safer routines. Imagine you lace up your shoes and head out the door each morning, without ever noting how you feel before, during, or after your walk. Without tracking, subtle changes in endurance, balance, or recovery may slip by, delaying your awareness of potential issues. For instance, a gradual decrease in distance covered or an increase in fatigue could signal changes in cardiovascular health or emerging vascular concerns. Let me share the story of Frank, an 82-year-old retired engineer from Ohio. Frank began using a simple notebook to record his daily walking distance, duration, perceived exertion, and any symptoms like dizziness or shortness of breath. After several weeks, he noticed a trend. On days when he walked immediately after breakfast without stretching or hydrating, he rated his effort as considerably higher. He also recorded 2 brief episodes of mild lightheadedness on those mornings. Because of his records, Frank consulted his doctor and adjusted his routine to include hydration and warm-up, preventing further episodes and reducing his stroke risk. Tracking can also include objective measurements, such as blood pressure readings, heart rate, or blood sugar levels when relevant. Consider adding a note if you walk on different surfaces at varying times of day or under different weather conditions. Over time, you will accumulate valuable data showing which conditions or habits support your well-being and which may need modification. If technology appeals to you, many smartphones and wearable devices offer step counts, heart rate monitoring, and GPS tracking. However, you can achieve meaningful insights with pen and paper. At minimum, note the date of each walk, start and end times, distance or duration, how you felt, and any unusual signs. Reviewing your journal weekly or monthly can highlight trends and prompt timely adjustments. Frank's simple practice of journaling transformed his approach to walking. He discovered that slight variations in his routine, like walking on slightly uneven terrain or delaying hydration, had measurable effects on his perceived effort. By acting on his observations, he preserved his independence and confidence. As your guide, I encourage you to adopt a tracking habit that feels sustainable. Whether digital or analog, consistent monitoring empowers you with actionable knowledge. You may also choose to share your records with a trusted friend, family member, or healthcare provider, adding another layer of oversight. Before we move on to Part 16, reflect on your current habits. Do you track your walks or related health metrics? How might simple record-keeping enhance your safety and performance? Let me know your thoughts. In addition to tracking your walks and basic health metrics, another method to safeguard your well-being is to involve your healthcare provider in your walking routine. Regular check-ins with a doctor or physical therapist can help identify subtle changes that you might miss on your own and provide personalized guidance tailored to your unique health needs. Many older adults view their daily walks as independent activities, separate from medical oversight. However, involving a professional can reveal hidden risk factors such as minor irregularities in gait, unrecognized blood pressure trends, or emerging joint issues. For example, a physical therapist can assess your walking mechanics, suggest corrective exercises, and help you integrate posture or balance drills safely into your routine. A routine check with your doctor can include blood pressure monitoring under various conditions, heart rhythm evaluation, and a review of your current medications to ensure they are optimal for exercise and vascular health. Let me share the story of Robert, a 79-year-old retired teacher who decided to bring his walking log to his annual physical. His doctor was impressed with the detailed records and noted that Robert's blood pressure readings tended to spike on days he walked alone in the late afternoon. The physician recommended shifting his walk to the morning and adjusting a mild hypertension medication to better cover that late-day surge. Within weeks, Robert's readings stabilized, and he reported feeling more energetic and less anxious about his blood pressure. In another case, Susan, an 80-year-old former accountant, experienced mild knee pain during her walks. She continued without mentioning it, assuming it was simply part of aging. During a physical therapy session recommended by her doctor, Susan learned that small imbalances in her hip muscles were affecting her gait and putting extra stress on her knees. After targeted strengthening exercises and a brief pause in her walking routine, her pain resolved, and she was able to resume her walks with improved posture and confidence. Involving healthcare professionals also keeps you accountable and motivated. Knowing you will discuss your progress and challenges at your next appointment encourages adherence to safe practices and empowers you to ask questions. You can bring concerns about new symptoms, such as dizziness, swelling, or unusual fatigue, and receive timely interventions. To integrate this approach, schedule periodic reviews of your walking routine with a trusted provider. At minimum, have a yearly discussion about your activity level, footwear, posture, and any symptoms. If possible, arrange for a session with a physical therapist specialized in geriatric movement and fall prevention. Bring your tracking journal or device data to facilitate a productive conversation. As your guide, I encourage you to view your walking routine as a collaborative effort between you and your healthcare team. Their expertise complements your experience, ensuring that your habits are both effective and safe. Before we move on to Part 17, reflect on your current practices. Have you shared your walking routine and observations with a healthcare professional? How might professional input improve your safety and enjoyment? Let me know your thoughts. Another crucial aspect of safe walking for older adults is incorporating strength and flexibility exercises into your weekly routine. While walking itself provides cardiovascular benefits, it does not fully address muscle strength, joint stability, and flexibility that support safe movement. Over time, muscle weakness and tight joints can alter your gait, reduce balance, and increase the risk of falls or vascular stress that may contribute to stroke or cardiac events. As we age, we naturally lose muscle mass and joint range of motion. This sarcopenia and stiffness can cause compensations during walking, such as leaning to one side, shorter stride length, or over-reliance on hip and lower back muscles. These compensations not only increase the effort required to walk, but can also compress arteries in the neck or legs, affecting blood flow to the brain and heart. By strengthening key muscle groups and maintaining flexibility, you support efficient and safe walking mechanics. Consider the experience of Helen, an 80-year-old retired librarian who noticed her walks became more tiring and her steps less confident. She added 2 weekly sessions of simple strength exercises recommended by her physical therapist. These included seated leg lifts to strengthen quadriceps, standing calf raises for ankle stability, and resistance band rows to open the chest and improve posture. She also practiced gentle hamstring and hip flexor stretches to maintain stride length. Within a month, Helen reported less fatigue during her walks, improved balance, and more upright posture that eased pressure on her neck arteries. Strength and flexibility exercises need not be complex or time-consuming. You can perform bodyweight or resistance band exercises at home, focusing on major muscle groups such as calves, quadriceps, glutes, core, and upper back. Flexibility drills like gentle hip rotations, seated hamstring stretches, and chest openers can be done before or after your walk. Aim for 2 to 3 sessions of 20 to 30 minutes each week, adjusting intensity to your comfort and ability. In addition to targeted exercises, consider activities that naturally build strength and flexibility. Tai Chi, yoga, or water aerobics are excellent options for older adults. These practices emphasize controlled movements, balance, and mindfulness, providing both physical and mental benefits. For instance, Tai Chi's slow weight shifts teach balance and hip strength, while yoga's poses open the chest, strengthen the back, and stretch the hamstrings. Building strength and flexibility not only enhances your walking safety, but also supports your independence in daily tasks like climbing stairs, getting up from chairs, and carrying groceries. It also reduces compensatory movements that may compress vessels or create inefficient gait patterns. Over time, this comprehensive approach protects your vascular health and overall well-being. As your guide, I encourage you to integrate simple strength and flexibility exercises into your weekly plan. Start gradually, listen to your body, and celebrate small gains. If possible, Seek guidance from a physical therapist or qualified instructor to ensure proper form and progression. Before we move on to Part 18, reflect on your current routine. Do you include strength or flexibility work alongside your walks? How might targeted exercises improve your walking efficiency and safety? Let me know your thoughts. In our journey through safe walking practices, another factor to consider is the impact of medication on your walking ability and vascular health. Many older adults take multiple medications daily for conditions such as hypertension, diabetes, and cholesterol management. While these medications support overall health, they can have side effects like dizziness, muscle weakness, or changes in blood pressure that affect your walking safety. For example, blood pressure medications may lower your readings too much when you stand up or start walking, causing orthostatic hypotension. This sudden drop in blood pressure upon standing can lead to lightheadedness or fainting. Diuretics that help remove excess fluid can increase dehydration risk, especially during or after a long walk. Certain diabetes medications can cause fluctuations in blood sugar, impacting energy levels and balance. Even common over-the-counter drugs, like some pain relievers, may affect circulation or interact with prescription medications. Consider the story of Walter, an 85-year-old retired postal worker who managed hypertension and mild arthritis. He began taking a new combination blood pressure medication that effectively lowered his daytime readings. One morning, he rose and went for his usual walk, but suddenly felt dizzy and nearly lost his balance on the sidewalk. He realized that the medication had his blood pressure dipping too low upon standing. A quick adjustment of the dosage and timing, guided by his physician, resolved the issue. He now takes his medication after a light breakfast and waits 30 minutes before walking to allow his body to adjust. It is important to understand how each medication you take may influence your walking routine. Keep an updated list of all prescriptions and over-the-counter drugs, noting potential side effects that could affect balance or blood pressure. Discuss with your doctor whether any timing adjustments could reduce risks. For instance, taking blood pressure medication at a consistent time relative to your walks can stabilize readings and prevent sudden drops. In addition to timing, be aware of interactions among medications. Certain combinations can amplify side effects like dizziness or fluid loss. Your pharmacist can review your regimen to identify potential issues and suggest alternatives or dosage modifications. Always inform your healthcare team about your walking habits, including times of day and typical duration, so they can tailor recommendations. To monitor medication effects, consider checking your blood pressure and heart rate before and after walks for a few days following any change in prescriptions. Note any symptoms, such as dizziness, weakness, or unusual fatigue. If you encounter these issues persistently, consult your healthcare provider promptly. As your guide, I encourage you to view your walking routine and medication regimen as interconnected parts of your health plan. By staying informed and communicating with your medical team, you can minimize side effects and maintain your independence. Before we move on to Part 19, reflect on your current practices. Have you considered how your medications may affect your walking safety? Could reviewing your regimen with a professional reduce hidden risks? Let me know your thoughts. Another essential component of safe walking for older adults involves preparedness and the use of technology to handle emergencies. Even the safest walking routines can encounter unexpected situations such as falls, sudden health symptoms, or becoming disoriented. Preparing in advance with identification, emergency contacts, and alert devices can make the difference between timely care and serious complications. Imagine stepping out for your usual walk and tripping over an uneven sidewalk. You fall, hit your head, and feel confused. Without immediate access to help or the ability to communicate who you are and what medical conditions you have, precious minutes are lost. Emergency responders may need to identify you and determine the best course of treatment. Carrying proper identification and medical information can expedite care and protect your health. Let us consider the example of Marjorie, an 82-year-old retiree who lived alone in a suburban community. Marjorie loved her morning walks, but was concerned about the possibility of falls or sudden dizziness. To prepare, she wore a medical alert pendant around her neck that connected to a monitoring service. She also kept a card in her wallet listing her name, date of birth, allergies, medical conditions, and emergency contact information. One day, Marjorie experienced a dizzy spell and fell. Unable to stand, she activated her pendant. Within minutes, help arrived, and paramedics reviewed her medical information immediately. Because they knew she was on blood thinner medication, they treated her carefully to avoid causing bleeding complications. Marjorie's preparedness ensured she received timely and appropriate care. In addition to medical alert devices, consider carrying a fully charged mobile phone with speed dial to emergency contacts. Store your primary contact as a labeled entry. Use text messages or voice commands to call for assistance if you cannot dial manually. If you are unfamiliar with smartphone features, practice emergency calls and contact updates with a family member or friend. Another useful tool is a fall detection app or wearable that can automatically alert caregivers if it senses a sudden impact followed by inactivity. Modern smartwatches and dedicated devices can detect abnormal heart rates, irregular rhythms, or unusual movements and send alerts to designated helpers. When choosing a device, consider battery life, ease of use, and subscription requirements. Test the device regularly to ensure it works properly. Visibility is also a key aspect of safety. If you walk early in the morning or late in the evening, wear light-colored clothing or reflective bands so that drivers and cyclists can see you clearly. Attach a small clip light or wear a headlamp to illuminate your path. Improving visibility reduces the risk of accidents and ensures that others can assist you quickly if needed. Finally, plan your route mindfully. Share your planned path and estimated return time with a friend, neighbor, or family member. If possible, walk in areas with good cell coverage and familiar surroundings. Carry a small emergency kit containing a few bandages, a whistle to attract attention, and personal identification. These simple preparations empower you to handle unforeseen events with confidence. As your guide, I encourage you to view walking as an activity that combines independence with smart preparation. By carrying identification, leveraging alert technologies, ensuring visibility, and sharing your plans, you can greatly reduce the risks associated with emergencies. Before we move on to Part 20, reflect on your current level of preparedness. Do you carry medical identification or use alert devices? When was the last time you tested your emergency features? Let me know your thoughts. As we conclude this comprehensive series on walking habits that can quietly influence senior health, it is time to integrate all these lessons into a practical, sustainable plan. Walking remains one of the best activities for maintaining cardiovascular fitness, mental clarity, and emotional well-being. Yet, understanding the subtle factors we have explored: hydration, sun protection, companionship, timing, posture, footwear, terrain, distraction, warm-up, cool down, weather, recovery, nutrition, mental engagement, tracking, professional support, strength exercises, medication effects, and emergency preparedness allows you to walk not just more, but more wisely. Begin by creating a personalized walking checklist that you review before each outing. On this checklist, include hydration reminders to drink water before and after your walk. Note sun protection items such as a wide brim hat, ultraviolet sunglasses, and lightweight long sleeves. Ensure your mobile phone or alert device is charged and within easy reach. Check your medication schedule and confirm you have taken any necessary doses with enough time before walking. Inspect your shoes for adequate support and proper fit. Review your planned route for surface evenness and cell coverage. Set a realistic time frame that avoids late evening or post-meal periods prone to risk. Next, Integrate simple warm-up routines like marching in place and joint rotations. As you walk, practice mindful posture by keeping your chin level, shoulders open, and gaze 10 to 15 feet ahead. Use mental engagement exercises such as recalling favorite quotes or observing details in your environment. Maintain moderate pace and choose routes that match your fitness level. After finishing, perform cool-down walks and gentle stretching. Record key metrics like duration, how you felt, and any unusual symptoms in a journal or app. This consistent tracking helps you and your healthcare provider identify patterns and adjust your routine as needed. Schedule 2 strength and flexibility sessions each week. Simple exercises like seated leg extensions, resistance band pulls, calf raises, and chest openers support your muscles and joints. Incorporate at least 1 or 2 recovery days with light activity, yoga, or stretching to allow your body to heal and adapt. Engage with others by joining a walking group or inviting a friend. Social support not only enhances safety by providing a second pair of eyes, but also boosts motivation and enjoyment. Share your routine and tracking data with a trusted healthcare professional who can help refine your plan and manage any medication effects. Monitor the weather daily and adjust your clothing and timing accordingly. For extreme heat or cold, consider indoor walking options. Always carry identification, emergency contacts, and testing of alert devices to ensure you are prepared for unexpected events. By weaving these practices into your daily life, you transform a simple walk into a holistic wellness ritual. You preserve your independence, reduce stroke and injury risk, and promote long-term vitality. Remember, each step you take is an opportunity to care for your heart, brain, body, and spirit. Thank you for joining me on this journey towards safer, smarter walking. I encourage you to reflect on your favorite habit from this series and commit to applying it in the coming week. Together, we can walk confidently toward healthier, more vibrant years ahead.